Success author Wayne Dyer said, acceptance means no complaining, and happiness means no complaining about the things over which you can do nothing. Today, I'm in the second episode of my series on no complaining. Welcome to Every Day, a New Thought. I'm Thor Chalgren, and every day I bring you a new thought, a new perspective. This week, I'm talking about no complaining because I've just finished No Complaining Week in Mental Muscle, 16 weeks of spiritual boot camp. This is a program I've done many times, and I'm probably now at least in my fifth go-around of this program. It's 16 weeks where every single week you have a specific direction, and each one of them builds on the other one. And in week 2, which I've just completed, the whole week is about no complaining. I'll put a link to Mental Muscle, which is available at Amazon. I'll put that in the show description below. Yesterday, I introduced the series and asked you to think about in your life over the last 24 hours, pay attention to when you complain and why you complain and what might be behind it. I'll just cite a couple of words from Dr. James Mellon where he talks about the directives for the entire week, but I'm going to pose these to you to think about over the last 24 hours to look at when do you complain, why do you complain, and what are you avoiding in the moment? Because that's really the point of this, is to become aware of why we're complaining and to pull it back to look at the reasons why we might be complaining. One of the things I think is interesting is this book and this whole program is put together in a sequential way. It's not an accident that no complaining is literally in the very beginning of the program, because it's kind of foundational in a spiritual development perspective to get you to see how much power you have when you take control of your mind. And often when we're complaining, we're not using our mind, we're not using our thoughts creatively, effectively, and with power. And so when you're actively looking at, am I complaining about things, you're beginning to take back power. So how did it go for you in the last 24 hours? Did you notice that there are times when you are more likely to complain about things than others? I'll give you my own definition that I've sort of evolved over time about what I would consider to be a complaint. And it has changed over time. I think the first time I did Mental Muscle years ago, I probably was a bigger complainer than I am now. Now I'm sort of having to fine tune it more. But here's my own personal definition of how I've applied it. And I'll give you an example. In the beginning, what I would think about was I'd catch myself and go, oh, that probably was a complaint. And then I would immediately ask myself, can I do something to change it? You know, I open with that quote from Wayne Dyer where he said, acceptance means no complaining, and happiness means no complaining about the things over which you can do nothing. I get what he's saying. And for me, my own definition has become that there's a lot that I maybe used to think that I couldn't do anything about now. And now I am much more likely to go, is that true? Is it really true that I can't do anything about it? I would look at something like maybe I get on the highway in the morning to drive somewhere and there's traffic, and maybe I used to complain about that. And I'd immediately ask myself, could I have done something about that? And maybe most of us would say, no, you can't. You just, if you're going to drive at rush hour, you're going to encounter traffic. But is it really true that I couldn't do anything? Because maybe I could have gotten up earlier and driven before there was traffic and just plan my day so that maybe when I get to the place I'm going, I bring with me work or whatever I need to do. So in that instance, I could have made a choice not to drive at that time. And so if I decide to drive at that time, guess what? I kind of can't complain about that. So I find now for myself that the first question that I ask is, can I do something about it? So that's what I'm going to encourage you to think about, is as you reflect this week in No Complaining Week, is if you find yourself complaining, the very first thing you should ask yourself is there anything I can do about it? And if there is, make a decision that you will make that change. And if not, maybe ask yourself, why am I complaining? And that's the part of the point of the work this week in Mental Muscle. And the book goes into a lot more detail about No Complaining Week. So I highly recommend that you look at the book, go on Amazon, check it out, but back it up. Ask, when I complain, what beliefs do I have about myself that maybe are being uncovered by this belief, by this complaint? Is it that maybe I think I don't have power? Is it maybe that there's something unresolved in this situation, in this relationship? And rather than actually taking on the challenge, taking on the resolution, I'm backing up and just sort of bitching about it, kvetching about it, and saying, oh, that's the way it always is. So tomorrow, I'm going to dive into a few of the questions that often will come up when people go, well, is this a complaint, or is this a complaint? Talk more about that tomorrow, and also maybe fine-tune your own definition of it. I want to close with a quote from Eckhart Tolle, who wrote The Power of Now. And he said, see if you can catch yourself complaining in either speech or thought about a situation you find yourself in, what other people do or say, your surroundings, your life situation, even the weather. To complain is always non-acceptance of what is. It invariably carries an unconscious negative charge. When you complain, you make yourself into a victim. When you speak out, you are in your power. So change the situation by taking action or by speaking out if necessary or possible. Leave the situation or accept it. All else is madness. That's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe to the show. If you're listening to the podcast, please like or subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Until tomorrow, thanks so much for watching.